Hello and welcome to Landy's Crypto Corner. Today is January 2nd, 2024, and we're staring at charts. This is a new series that I am starting this year that is going to be in between the live streams on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So it is a pre-recorded video, just kind of updating some of the analysis that we've done in those live streams and also offering some additional analysis on top of that. And we're just going to check where we are by staring at Bitcoin today. We can see that based on our prior analysis during the previous live stream, any closure above the upper first standard deviation of the Bollinger Bands, we were kind of looking at Bitcoin running back to the highs on a close to the wick high at 45 and possibly this monthly up here at 45.5. And we have now seen that come to fruition. And we did see a pullback off of this monthly. But if Bitcoin can remain trading above and closing above the upper second standard deviation of the Bollinger Bands, which is coming in at around 45,000 to 45,100, then I would look for this monthly at 45.5 to get ran to the current high now at 46,000 above there. And I would start to target the next monthly at $47,000 to the monthly swing high just above it at 48.2 to 5. And beyond there, probably looking into the low $50,000 region. Now, if Bitcoin does lose the upper second, I would pay attention to the upper first. The upper first is cutting right across horizontal support and resistance. Now it has not been retested. And this is the closing highs of this range that Bitcoin is currently trying to break out of. Now, if Bitcoin does lose that upper first, I would pay attention to this weekly as it is directly in line with this basis band here at 43.2. If that's lost, we just step it down to the next weekly by the daily lower first even. And this is at around 41.8 to 42K. And below there, the lower second by this higher low coming in at roughly $41,000. If this area is dropped, you do need to pay attention to the actual lows of this range. It is coming in somewhere around that $41,000 region to a wick low of $40,150. You can just call it $40,000 even. Some exchanges did wick down there. If that is lost, then we start looking right back to this weekly here at 39,000 to the monthly just below it at 38,500, where you did see this offered up a bit of resistance as Bitcoin consolidated around these prior weekly levels at 37.7 and 36.2. If this monthly is lost at 38.5, then I would be targeting this weekly area and below down to the monthly at 35,000 and weekly just below that at 34,750. Now that's not my first take on what's happening with price action. This is a first pass rejection up here. And if Bitcoin can remain at minimum above the basis band here, I would look for the highs and higher. If the basis band is lost and subsequently these weeklies are dropped, that's when I would start looking at the low side of the range again to the other support and resistance levels down below. Now, when looking at something like momentum, and this is a regular Stoke for those that might be new to the channel, this is not a Stoke RSI. So this is reading close over close price action momentum. And in this case, we can get a pivot number for when this would turn back down, as Bitcoin did turn it up in with yesterday's price closure into today's. We can see that the momentum pivot is at 43,350. Now, with that in conjunction, being the momentum pivot being pointed up, Bitcoin trading above the basis, upper first and even upper second standard deviation. How this fits into volatility is that, volatility is moving up in a big way. So as long as Bitcoin is at minimum above that upper first, we will continue to see volatility expansion. It is currently at a 64, almost 65 over 41 read. Now this is BBWP. This is a free indicator by the caretaker. You can also find this built into the Landy Bands indicator, which you can find in the link in the video description down below, which is my indicator. It's a triple Bollinger Band set with EMAs and a built-in BBWP. Thank you very much for allowing me to use your code there, caretaker. So you do get a BBWP read when you have my particular indicator on. Again, that's free. You don't need to have it. You can always just grab the charted version of BBWP directly from TradingView up in the indicators tab. And that, of course, again, is by the wonderful caretaker. So we can see that BBWP price in relation to the Bollinger Bands and momentum are all agreeing that price is headed up. And, until we see something change, i.e. a high being put in, then I would expect Bitcoin to continue to run this monthly to the monthlies just above at that 47 to 48, 2 to 5, possibly more into the $50,000 range. Now, we can get a little bit of a bias on pullback areas of interest in this move for the sustained move and see how that lines up with the with the idea of sustained volatility levels. So in this case, we can pull a fib. This is on log scale and the fib is on long scale. It's not really going to make a difference when you're just looking at a daily, but in this case, you can see that well, it helps if I actually go to the right menu over here and grab the arrow. You can see that the 618 is directly in line with the upper first standard deviation. That's kind of what I was trying to get to there. Now, if that area is dropped, you can see the 50% is coming in at around that pivot for the daily at 43,550 in this case. And the 382 is right there, right around the basis band at $43,000. So realistically, for the sustainability of volatility, if Bitcoin is going to continue testing higher and remaining in an expansive phase for the Bollinger Bands here, we do need to see Bitcoin closing above this 618 where the upper first standard deviation is, around that 44 to 44.1 area. That's pretty basic also when looking at support and resistance. Pretty easy call there. We have a close right on it. We have wicks into it. We did get a slight deviation on a close above it. Of course, that is just measuring this current move off this higher low. Now, when looking at RSI, which we can go ahead and get rid of this, this fib pull here, we can look at RSI and we can see that this is playing out a bit of hidden bullish divergence. It is now in the bullish control zone. So looking pretty good in that regard. Let's go ahead and check on some lower term timeframes though and see how things are going. If we look at the 12-hour here, we can see that Bitcoin did wick up into and above, but not close above the upper third standard deviation here. We can see a BBWP read or volatility read of 88% over 62. So this move still has legs on the 12-hour as long as Bitcoin is closing above the upper first standard deviation. So that's coming in at roughly the same area. It's about $100. Well, it's $87 higher than the daily in this case. But that upper first is above all the prior 12-hour closes. Not yet the wicks, but the closes. So I would be looking for Bitcoin to maintain that upper first on a close, and or if it does drop it on those lower term timeframes, it can come down to those areas of interest that we just spoke about. But you do want to see it bouncing and bouncing somewhere around the basis band and getting back above and closing above the upper first to avoid a compression that just swings the high. So basically that would look like Bitcoin just heading up towards resistance, getting rejected, coming back down, and then we'd be looking for a little bit of compression, a wider set of Bollinger Bands for a little while, and then we await a move from there. So in this case, we can see that, well, we've got a few different indicators. This is actually a paid indicator. This is the Advanced Stoke. That's by those guys over there at app.crowntrading.net. The developer for that is KVDB. I don't have any affiliation with them. I don't make any money if you ever pick up any of their indicators, but I often use a Stoke by them, and then, obviously Caretaker is part of that community as well, and use the BBWP. In this case, we can see that the 12-hour momentum pivot is at 43,220. Now, I do want to bring this back to the daily real quick just to check here. So 43,350 is the momentum pivot for the daily, and then we have a little bit of a lower number here. This might play catch up because we will have, of course, this 12-hour close and then a subsequent 12-hour close with today's daily candle. But in this case, we are looking at a lower number than the daily, so it is more bias in this case to the upside, in my opinion, as long as Bitcoin is closing above that basis and maintaining its expansive posture above that upper first. Again, same outlook. I would be looking for things to head up, run those monthlies overhead. Now, if Bitcoin does happen to drop this basis, you can see on the 12-hour here, we have the lower first coming in at roughly 42.2. Now, that is to bring it back over to the Bitcoin in 60 seconds chart. That is the area that we just spoke about over here at the weekly at 41.8 to around 42.4, 42.2 if you like. We have the lower first on the daily there as well. So that's coming in right around that higher low. And that really is kind of the big area to pay attention to. If this higher low is dropped, I think that things go either down a bit further and or go into a sideways consolidation. So that's where then we have to pay attention to these lows over here. Now that's pretty much it for these kinds of videos. Just stare at charts for about 10 minutes and I go over my thoughts and follow up with what we have been talking about, some of the live streams. Hopefully there's enough there for you. Give me some feedback. Let me know if I should be adding any more to this. If there's something else that you'd like to see, there's many different types of analysis. This is my wheelhouse with volatility, and you must remember trend, trend, support and resistance, volatility creates momentum. Those are your 4 key pillars to trading. And yeah, I might sound a little off today. I do apologize. Not feeling the best, but Bitcoin's doing well, and so are alts. And we will check on that tomorrow during our live stream. So we have a Wednesday live stream. For those of you where it's already Wednesday, it'll be late at night for you guys at around 7:30 p.m. UTC. But that will be at 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. depending on when I can get on the computer to live stream tomorrow on Wednesday. You all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, and evening, no matter where you are in the world. Please trade safe, and of course, as always, stay safe. And with all of that being said, Landy out.